Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you watch this. It's 6 p.m. Eastern here on the East Coast. It is the 21st of November, 1 week before Thanksgiving and before the holiday season begins. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all that great stuff. It's time to get ready to chow down on a nice turkey and stuffing, be with your family, your friends, which is very important right now. Because there are those in the mainstream media that will tell you, oh, if they had a different opinion, don't be with them, which that is wrong in itself. But welcome to another edition of a Taco Thursday here on CutiCast TV. Thank you for clicking on this video. Welcome aboard. There's a lot going on. Let me tell you something. There is a lot going on in the anime manga world. There's so much going on. Between all the new releases, all the new announcements that's coming out, the way some of the shows are hitting this year. We're coming to the end of the year where it's, top 10s coming in. This is where everyone starts to begin to try to shine. I mean, we've already had some failures like Demon Lord Retry and a couple of others that have just, they're not going to make it. I tell you, going into Demon Lord Retry, I just can't get back into it. I mean, what they did the first couple of episodes is just insane. This is everything not to do when you're rebooting a show. It is just insane. Versus like say Ramahath, which it's a little better, but there's some translation issues there. Where I'm just waiting for the whole entire series to come forward and see the difference between the Japanese and English versions of it. And there's some other shows I haven't started yet. Is it wrong to pick up Girls in the Dungeon? I still got to get back into Demon Lord 2099, which so far a couple episodes that's been good. Up to date pretty much about almost everything else. There's a couple things here and there. One Piece, obviously, Bleach, shows like that I just still need to catch up on. But speaking of catching up, let's catch up starting off this episode with the top 10 via Anime Corner. Let's go into it. And basically, versus last week, this week, I think the voting was about 9,600 people voted this past week. So let's start with number 10. It is a 2.5 dimensional seduction, which is basically holding its position from last week. In the number 9, and I've mentioned this before, and I still got to get to the next episodes, is and holding at its position at the 9th position as well is Demon Lord 2099. The number 8 position, which is down a slot from last week, where it was in the number 7 slot, and now it's in the number 8, is Spirit Chronicles Season 2. I haven't seen this one yet, so I don't know too much about it. But moving up a notch, which I just said, I have to start Season 5. It is wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon. I just love this series. This series has a lot of good hits in it. I love the way it just flows about the gods and everything like that, and the action, the characters. It just all sinks to me. When it comes to an anime like this. So that one is up a notch. Holding at number 6 this week is Blue Lock Season 2. It's holding in the 6th position. So at the number 5, holding its position, is Tying the Knot with an Agamani's sister. In the number 4, down 2. What has happened with this series? It's down 2 notches. Is in the 4th is Blue Box. And another series that has dropped 2 positions, which was number 1 last week, was Bleach: A Thousand Year Blood War Part 3, The Conflict. Is down 2. And it holding in the number 2, moving up 1. Can you guess which one it is? ReZero, Starting a Life, Another World, Season 3. I just caught the current episode, which was Really, really good. When the people try to make comparisons to the manga versus the anime itself. And finally, moving up 3 slots with an incredible episode. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not seen the previous episode to this series, this is the point where you need to start watching this series. And this is why this is probably going to end up in at least the top 5 best anime for 2024 is Dan 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 Dan. This hits the marks on animation. It hits the marks on the story itself. And and I always say this all the time. Anime is an art. When it comes to any cartoons, anime, anything of this nature is an artwork. It is beauty in itself. This episode shined in many different directions. The story itself, the flashback, the memory flashback of the spirit and all that. It is just a beautiful telling of the backstory of this dark spirit. I mean, it is really well done. People say, "Why are you into this cartoon anime?" This is the reason why. Episodes like this that for Dan Da Dan Dan hit it. You hit everything on this. It was, you can't go any further to say how fantastic this episode was. I can't wait for the next episode to drop. I mean, what are we going to expect next? And like I said before, hey, listen, you can't go wrong with one of the characters voiced by the voice of the English dub of Rita Repulsa herself. Oh man! Well, that is the lineup for this week, and we will have next week. We will have a lineup for that too. In fact, actually, we're going to have it a day earlier. In fact, it will be on Wednesday, but we'll talk about it at the end of the episode. So let's move on a little bit and see what is going on as far as coming soon. Now, a lot that is coming on. We're just getting announcements that was just this past over the weekend from some of the animation studios. Pasoni and Habo Films, they're coming out with I believe a new series called From Old Country Bumpkin to Master Swordsman. And looks like this is one of those other harem stories. I could be wrong on there, but it almost reminds me, if you haven't seen Farming Life in Another World, I recommend seeing that. I think that's still on High Dive. And I want a season 2 to that. I really, truly want a season 2 to that one. But this one almost looks like it. I mean, it looks really, just similar to it. Now, also coming on, and I have to start the next season on this one. Welcome to Demon School Aruma-kun, which has been announced as a season 4. I kind of stopped it for a little bit because one of the characters was a little annoying, but I want to continue this story. I mean, this is a really good story. This is about a kid who basically his parents were so greedy they sold him to a demon. And you figure that, that's like, oh God, he's going to get eaten or something like that. But no, the demon wanted a grandson. And basically he told him, he says, listen, please be my grandson. I'll give you everything you want in your life. You get to go to school and, you'll have a great life to live. And that's what this is. But you got to remember, he's human. He's a human in a demon world trying to pass as a demon. And it is just the trouble he gets into in this series. I mean, it's fun. But there is one character that just happens to be really annoying. It just gets me, the one that befriends him, and she's just annoying all the time. But that's going to be coming out. Will probably be 2025, 2026 on that. And then, of course, back a couple of years ago, there was a movie called Expelled from Paradise, which is finally, I think it was, is it 2014, 2015? It's finally getting a sequel to it. It Liberated from Paradise, and it's been officially announced by Toei, and we're going to expect that in 2 years. That's going to be released in 2026. Not certain if it's at the beginning, middle, or end of 2026, So that's going to be interesting as well. But here's the big announcement. I've discussed this many times on this particular program and on Man with the Show. For those of you who love anime, especially those with a bit of an ecchi to it, a lot of fan service, nudity. This is seriously, this is for adults only. For this series, High School DxD. You're familiar with that. They've already finished that manga, and fans have been wanting more for it. They've been a little bit movies here and there, but finally there is something. There's a new era of the series coming out, and it could be controversial, may not be. But if it's anything as strong as what it's been before, it should be good. It's Junior High School DxD, and let's read. I'm going to read a little bit from the article itself. And this is coming off of Comic Book, so you should get a little niche of what's going on here. High School DxD has entered a new era with the launch of a new sequel and spin-off series. Junior High School DxD, Ichi Izumi and Mira Zero's original High School DxD novels might have come to an end some time ago, but the franchise have continued strong with the releases of new sequels and more in the years since. The franchise is likely most known thanks to the success of the 4 seasons of the anime that fans have been waiting to see some return in some form. But thankfully, the novels are back in action with a new story meantime. That means, we're going to get a whole new storyline to this. It looks interesting to this point. Junior High School DxD begins with its first volume titled The Transfer Student is a Samurai Girl that is now hitting the shelves across Japan. Introducing fans to a new main protagonist named Zeta Miyamoto, who is the descendant of the legendary samurai Mushio Miyamoto. Do look that up. This sequel spin-off series introduces a whole new group of characters before reintroducing the legacy characters into the fold, like returning Rias Gremory from the main series. You can check it out, it's coming soon. So, this is going to be interesting. It's supposed the tease is a lot of the teases is sword fighting on there, and of course breast size. It's coming from what I understand on that. You could check out, if you haven't seen High School DxD and you're old enough to watch it. It is still streaming on Crunchyroll. I think it is still on Hulu. I'm not certain if it's still on there, but last I saw some of it was on Hulu at one point. But hey, listen, is there an anime in the works for this? Possibly. If it does very well for itself straight out the bat. This has a heavy fan base. And most people will say, well, it must be because of the sexual innuendos and stuff like that. No, it happens to be a good story. You could have nudity, you could have fan service, and still have a fantastic story. Neon Genesis Evangelion. That happens to be one of the best anime of all time, and it still had fan service in it. And it was still a great story. People criticize anime for a lot of, things. They say, well, it creates violence. It puts women down. Meanwhile, what about the men? Have you not seen any of the one? Oh no, the men are sexy. They can be sexy. This is the thought pattern they have. They have no problem with the men, but they always have plenty of problem with the women, and they love to confuse. Say like, oh, you're doing CP. And this and so that. These are fictional characters. They don't exist. Same thing with this Zika. They said she's the ancestor, she's a descendant of the Mushimoto Miyamoto. It's fictional. It's not real. But I guess with the first title being that they're talking about sword fighting, samurai. So I guess we are going to be seeing some samurai fighting in this, a lot of sword fighting for this series. But like I said, hey, could be an anime in the works sometime in the near future on this. And it'll be great to watch. Now, of course, there's a lot more going on. You figure that, why didn't I bring up this? Like, right now, we're working on the Sony Kadokawa storyline that Sony might buy Katakawa. Might be a big issue. This is where this is to the point we said, come on, Sony's becoming a monopoly in the anime and manga business, please, and the gaming industry as well. I'm hoping with this new administration we can get it, regulators, but we're working on that for another day on there. But we're going to continue on with the second part of this is what I've been working on. If you watched last week, we discussed how there's been a major war against anime and manga in Japan specifically. And last week's episode, we had talked about how the United Nations has gotten involved to the situation to the point where they're trying to force Japan to wrangle in and censor manga and anime, which is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I said this before. This is coming from the United Nations. If you're familiar with the Human Rights Council for the United Nations, this is a council that is built upon, protecting the citizens of the world against human rights violations. But if you look on the board of members that are on this committee, you have some of the largest human rights violators in the world, like China, Russia, North Korea, the Middle East. Some of the countries from the Middle East, Africa. Places where human rights are violated on a constant basis. But meanwhile, they're on the committee to fight against it. I mean, you see the problem there? You see the problem that, they're trying to push this out, and, that how evil manga and anime is and that it should be censored. But meanwhile, they're, allowing the violation of law, human rights law throughout the world. Maybe this is the time that we need to dissolve the United Nations. I mean, what's it really doing? I mean, it has become a structure that's supposed to protect the nations of the world, but they're not. They're not. And now they're going into censorship. To censor anime and manga is just literally socialism in itself. You're censoring one type of media. And you won't stop there. And I've said this in many shows, many videos and episodes, that as much as they'll try to stop anime, manga, and porn, they won't stop there. If they're successful, they'll start to go after the NC-17 movies. They'll go after the R-rated movies. They'll go after anything that they disagree with, even stuff for kids. I mean, hell, Disney just pulled back an episode that would have crucified them, but it's going to. An episode that was driven, for kids, that was driven trans issues in a kids' cartoon. This is what they're putting out to the mainstream. They wanted children to see this. But meanwhile, you're getting manga books being removed from school libraries, from high school libraries. And we got a story like that next week on there. Someone who just flipped through a manga book and says, high school kids won't understand this. They won't understand this at all. They won't get it. But you didn't read it. You didn't read it. If you didn't get it by flipping through it, how can you say 100% a high school student is not going to get it? And you don't even understand the plot line of that particular manga. And what we're talking about is Assassination Classroom. We talked about this about a year ago on Man with the Show. It's in the highlights again, but that's next week. This week, what we're going to talk about to finalize this edition on this story is now we have the Visa and MasterCard credit processors are throwing the manga business under the table by denying payments by the customers to their businesses. Most of these are American companies, if you put this in thought. And doesn't that violate certain federal trade rules? It may be in another country, but it is Americans that are buying that product. So doesn't that violate some Federal Trade Commission issue? Visa and MasterCard are already under investigation for a couple of other things of recent. And now you're going to add this to it? Already we're hearing that certain manga companies are folding because of this. Some are reorganizing, that they're trying to figure out payment processing separate outside. In fact, this could be a boost for another credit card company. No, not Discover, American Express. But there's an issue with that. American Express happens to be one of the ones that take a large hit at the back end when payments go through. I think it's still 10%, if I'm not mistaken. All the others take less than 7%, I think it is. These days, it might have changed. But we're going to read a little bit into 2 articles in here, not the whole thing, but so you can get at least the gist of what is going on. We'll start over at Sora News 24. Dojin manga anime chain announces moratorium on Visa, MasterCard, and credit card payments. Melon Books announced changes to its payment options. Even orders already placed may be affected. Melon Book is one of the largest sellers of Dojin independently produced manga/anime art. However, as of next month, customers will no longer pay for their Melon Books purchases with 2 of the most major credit cards. On November 8th, Melon Books announced a moratorium on payments with Visa or MasterCard, with statements on both Melon Books, the official website, and through their official Twitter account. We are deeply sorry for this, but it has come about that Visa, MasterCard, credit card payment options will be suspended as of December 19th, said Melon Books. We apologize for being unable to prevent the inconvenience of our customers. No reason for this continuation of the Visa MasterCard payments is given, but the most probable explanation has to do with the sort of products Melon Books deals in. Though Dojin are not synonymous with pornography, many and arguably the majority of the most prolific and popular Dojin artists specialize in adult material. In recent years, a number of credit card companies have become more cautious about involving themselves in transactions for purchasing content that could be considered pornographic. And it's likely that Visa and MasterCard policies have shifted such that they are no longer comfortable rendering payments to Melon Books as they once were. See, this is, and I'll tell you this. Yes, there are some people in Visa, MasterCard that are sort of activists, time away, trying to push this, but also they're getting hits from outside companies, organizations like NOSC or Morality in Media. This is what I tell you, and I keep telling you that organizations like this, they're looking to censor things. They've already attacked Cosmopolitan, Sports Illustrated. They've gone after comedians like George Carlin in their past history. They've gone after Roblox. They've gone after many things because they want to censor it, because they're pushing their religious beliefs upon there. But these are not really their Christian beliefs or the Mormon beliefs, because when you hear that, that everybody claims that it's all in the Catholic Church. It's a mixture. It's a mixture of different churches that are doing this. You're talking about the Mormon religion, because you see the age verification that's going on here in the U.S., which is going to be heard by the Supreme Court very soon next year. That they're trying to block all this stuff from coming through the internet, and they say, well, it's to protect the children. If you have children with a credit card out there buying stuff on the internet, okay, well, then let's put it in that perspective. That's an issue for the parents, because they're not paying attention to what the kids are doing. They're just buying and all that. And you hear these stories. When I was a kid, And this is as the internet was just birthing out, and it wasn't really a major situation. You had 900 numbers at that time period, and kids used to dial that number up and rack up hundreds and hundreds of dollars, some of thousands of dollars in charges on their parents' phone bill. They used to have 99 cents for the first minute and $2 for each additional minute, or $5 for each additional minute. Kids used to rack them up. Phone companies used to lose money on this because the parents go like, "Well, I didn't authorize that." In some cases, the phone company had to take the bite on that. But once, they won't do it twice. If the kid does it again, parents are on the hook for it. But looking at this. And they're saying, well, we don't like the content that this company is selling. Well, that's pretty racist. And, because basically, what are you going to do left? The clothing? The shoes? Jackets? Appliances? I mean, where do you stop to this point? Okay, it's adult material. I'm almost into my 60s. If I want to buy something from Melon Books, if it's not against the law, then I'm going to go out there and buy it. There is no law on the books that says I cannot buy product that is through the Melon Book Company. Could you tell me what law they broke that will stop you from No. You have people out there telling you, well, we'll stop doing business with you if you continue supporting the anime manga industry or the porn industry. No, that's against the law. That is truly against the law. But I want to read the last line on this article, and you can go back and read this article complete. For shoppers who do prefer pay with a credit card and not face-to-face, and that's outside Japan, Melon Books will continue to accept payment by American Express and JCB. Japan's largest domestic credit card company for online orders. And perhaps to encourage their customer base to obtain or use those cards, Melon is also running a promotion until the end of November, giving 30% of purchase prices back to the shoppers as store credit for orders paid by American Express or JCB. That's a good thing. See, that's a company that values their customer. See, that's what you got to remember, where Visa and MasterCard are not understanding, is that you're turning off customers to your business. Customers might go to Discover from now on, or they might use American Express. And remember, American Express makes gift cards also. Those gift card debits. And that runs through their system. And there are others that are trying to create new payment processing companies. I mean, I think Elon Musk was talking about creating one for X. Because this is not the only place that this happens at. We've had PayPal, Stripe, and many others who have gone after, the independent comic book industry. Places like Kickstarter. You're trying to put your business together, but somebody there doesn't like your business because they're influenced by others that saying, no, we don't want them. We don't want them as competition. I'm hoping 2025 that the new president, well, actually, the old president who's coming back, it's Donald Trump, that he starts to assign more people to the Federal Trade Commission and to organizations that look into banking as well. Because, we've had a situation where people have been denied bank accounts. They've been denied credit card payments. I can go through a list of whole things. I mean, the perfect example is how porn companies and porn stars are being, their bank accounts, who they've had no problem for, say, 25 years, 30 years, some for 5 to 10 years, that their accounts are being closed because the bank deems them, that basically, it's going to hurt their business. How so? How so? If it's just their name on the account, stuff like that, or whatever business, what's wrong with that? It's making you money. Who have they wronged? No, comes from people that are influencing people to say you don't need this for your business. Let them go elsewhere. But there's nowhere else to go in some of these cases. It's very difficult. There are not that many, banks that you can go to, even though we have a lot of banks. But if each of these banks start to say, sorry, what's happened with Chase, what's happened with Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo used to, very friendly and inviting from the porn industry. Not anymore. They started canceling people's accounts because of that. They've canceled accounts for people who have opposite opinions or political leanings. Or someone who works in the media who they don't like their opinion of some of the stuff that they've written or they've put on YouTube or Rumble, and they try to shut them down. This is going to continue. It is going to continue if we don't put a halt to this. The Japanese government is going to step in at one point, and it's insane. We're going to read the other second article on this, which is coming out of Automation. Japanese manga store Melon Books offers customers discount for using AMEX JCB credit cards at issues and international payment processors. Melon Books, a Japanese bag retailer, described itself as a one-stop shop for doujin products, including manga, novels, music, video games, and more, is currently offering 30% discount for customers who pay by JCB or American Express credit cards. Remember this, Melon Books also does novels, music, and video games. What do they have against that? At first glance, the online store providing such a dealing may not seem anything out of the ordinary, but this particular discount is the result of Melon Books having to suspend Visa and MasterCard payments due to issues with international payment processors, which have been impacting various Japanese platforms this year. The banner advertisement, the discount on Melon Books' site, has apologized for the inconvenience written at the top. It seems that Melon Books is trying to encourage customers to switch to American Express and JCB, the two credit cards that could still be used on their site. Skeb, Fantina, DL Site, and Nikoruno are among the other Japanese platforms that have suspended various credit card payments methods this year due to unable to comply with international payment processors' crackdown on adult content. International payment processors have been tightening their regulations lately to avoid situations in where their money transfer networks are used in monetization of illegally produced sexual content and content depicted sexual acts involving minors, which it doesn't. Give me the proof that this is happening on these sites. Show me what it is. See, this is the thing that they put out at you. Vice News did a whole documentary that they went to a Japanese anime convention and tried to push it as cheese pizza, which they went out of their way to find people that were suspicious. Yeah, that's right. They went out and find suspicious. I can go to a comic book con or sci-fi con, something like that, and go look for it. I could probably find someone suspicious. I could probably find someone suspicious in a mall, at a school. This is the stupidest things that they try to push. Now, the thing that gets me is stuff like this is sold on Amazon, eBay, and many other companies. Are they going to go after them? Are they going to stop payment processing on Amazon, on eBay, and many other companies, Barnes and Noble? This stuff is sold in many different places. Are they going to stop the stores that are here, the Japanese bookstores that are here in the U.S.? Are they going to stop that? I mean, there are many different places you can get this same product here in the U.S. Why do they have a problem with that? Hell, I can go to Chinatown, okay, and find this in certain stores, or what we call the underground stores that basically they've been around for God since I was young that have sold bootleg versions of this product. Is that what we're going to end up going back to? Bootlegging most of this stuff? Because that's what's going to happen. There are now third-party companies that are coming into play to help bring this stuff to the U.S. that they're trying to, what do they call it, brown bag it to the situation, change what the product is, that basically what the companies are, how they're distributing this stuff. I mean, this is the only way you're going to get around a lot of it, unless you go the way of American Express and JCB. Visa, MasterCard, you're only giving more money to Amex. Really? You're going to have more and more people sign up for Amex. And Amex will gladly take the business from you. Is that what you want? Is that what you really want to be known as, a censorship credit card company versus Amex, who says, we're open to anybody. We don't discriminate. Think about that for a minute. Amex, we don't discriminate. Okay, I get credit for that if Amex uses that. But, this is what it is. They just don't like it. And it's a hypocrisy because you have, for example, Netflix, that they have an animated show that talks about homosexuality with children and sex and self-gratification. Meanwhile, the other one they just took, I believe, Cuties has been removed from Netflix. But here we go. We had another series that basically had 10-year-old girls gyrating like strippers in a movie, and they said, "Well, we just wanted to bring attention to that." Yeah, but you don't use 10-year-old girls to show it. You hire older girls that basically look like younger girls, which you can find in this industry. Or you shouldn't have not done it at all. Or changed the pattern of how you shot the film. But yet they said, well, it was directed by a woman. A black woman. And, she should be oppressed. And so I don't care on that portion of what color she is. I don't care. If she did something that she was not supposed to do, and I'm asking to this day still, where are all the audition tapes? Because, you tape auditions. How many young girls did they audition and kept those tapes? They didn't erase those tapes. They're somewhere. They could be on the black market. They could be on the dark web. We don't know. They haven't shown up yet, or have they shown up? We do not know. We know how evil Hollywood can get, whether it's here in the U.S. or overseas. Right now, you have a lot of Hollywood actors that are saying, well, we're leaving the U.S. because of the president. No, they're leaving the U.S. because there's no work for them in Hollywood. So they're going over to the U.K., which is about... Try saying the wrong thing in that country, and the cops will come knocking on your door. And it has happened. Yes, that's right. It has happened. Because the UK is starting to turn into, V for Vendetta. The way that UK government was running in that movie. The other half of this is that there is insane people that are working in the comic book industry. That, places like Marvel and DC, they have had failures on their comic book end. The activists that are working in there who have lost out, that the manga industry has been strong as hell in there. They're trying to put them out of business. Yeah, that's right. They're trying to put them out of business so they can move their product back in again. Or at least censor the product where people will stop buying their stuff. And you know, am I wrong? Am I wrong? Let me know in the comments. Am I wrong on that? Politics have moved into our artistic expression. And I continue to say this over and over, and I'll continue to say it. Take an artist. He'll start to paint things, and someone will come along and says, I don't like that color, or I don't like that tree well. Don't leave that tree there. Don't put that person there. Make that person a minority. You can't tell someone who's an artist what to paint, what to write, what to animate, what to make as a movie. We went through this during the Hays Code, the original Hollywood Hays Code, that you had some religious groups and those in the Hollywood studios telling directors, telling producers what they can and cannot do as far as putting what into a movie. So the Supreme Court came in and decided, no, sorry, you're taking away freedom of expression. That violates the First Amendment. And that went away. The MPAA was born. And then we had, in the 1970s, we had a renaissance of movie making, broadcast television, comic books. Everything was starting to work very well for itself. So we got to the end of the 90s. And what I'm calling the Hays Code 2.0 is rearing its head again. And you may say to yourself, well, why would you say Hays Code 2.0? I mean, it's not the same as the original Hays Code. Oh, no. You have to understand, when you tell someone, when they're making a movie, that you have to add, subtract, shoot it a certain way, shoot it in a certain place, have this amount of a particular minority in your film, or basically a particular minority not in your film, that's a Hays Code. Yeah, that's right. That's right. They're trying to eliminate the sex out of Hollywood. They're trying to eliminate, the hero, the male hero. They're cutting the balls off the men. All those great action flicks from the 80s and 90s. Remember those? I mean, even in the 70s, there was some great stuff. Stuff out of Canon and New Line Cinemas. The horror films that are out. I mean, today, at least the horror films are starting to return to the way it was. You see the action films that have come out lately. How horrendous that they are. They could be much better with a different helm to the situation. They say, well, we have to have more female directors. But there have been female directors for decades. Yeah, decades. We can switch it. The thing about it is they don't praise those that have come and gone. There were female directors in the 1930s and 40s. There was a black movie studio in that time period too, the Lincoln Motion Picture Company. Nobody talks about. Most of those films are lost history. Think about that for a moment. Think about that, because they tout, we just got our first black motion picture company here in the 2020. What was it, 2022, 2023? No, we had one. It was called the Lincoln Motion Picture Company. Look it up. It was there, and there have been many others since then. They try to say we're breaking the ceiling, but the ceiling has been broken. They just don't like some of the stuff that's put out. When anime and manga started to come into the U.S. at that time, and for me, it was in the 1970s. I was watching it on a UHF channel, which was one of the largest suppliers of Spanish programming today. Just Channel 47, it's Telemundo. Back in the early days, these companies didn't have the money to keep programming running all the time. On Saturday nights, they would cut off at about 8 p.m. and sold that time to a different company, and that was Nippon Television. And I got to see Galaxy Express 39, Ikusan, Cyborg 009, all these great of the late 70s, the 80s. And then, you started to see companies like the Sci-Fi Channel, Toonami on Cartoon Network. Many of those bring that anime in to us. We were already getting manga, but unfortunately we had to have them translated or learn Japanese. Those books were available here in the U.S., but unfortunately we didn't speak it. We either had to learn Chinese or Japanese because depending on the translation they were coming in on. Then finally they were getting it into English because there was a market for it. And it kept increasing and increasing till what we have today. Do we have people out there that want to destroy the anime manga industry? Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, hell yeah. They want to destroy the gaming industry, which they're almost successful in doing right now. I haven't played a video game in, over a year. I haven't paid my Xbox account in well over a year. Eventually I might come back to it. As we're putting this studio together, we are hooking up our video game systems. And we might play some things here and there ourselves personally. But understand, is that they're gaslighting this situation to the point that they just want to, scorch earth on all this. Like I said, with this new administration coming in, I hope they take to the point that they stop this, and that the Japanese on the other end starts to say, listen, if you don't like our product, tough, because our customers do, and they are your customers. You will lose customers over this. They'll figure out how to pay for these anime, these manga from overseas. They will figure it out eventually. You got to remember, well over in Australia, they banned it for quite some time. This was back during COVID, that they were banning certain things. Well, guess what? The shipments have started again. It's getting into the country. What was done? Some things have changed. Will it be blocked again? Probably. People will figure out a way of getting their product. It's not the first time, and it ain't going to be the last time that this is going to happen. But like I said, new administration, hopefully they will put them in their place. Because I think these credit card companies and these banks have bigger issues coming their way. Much bigger issues that the Federal Trade Commission is going to be looking at them. You already know what's going on with Google. Amazon is going to be next to that situation. And how long before the banks are drawn into this as well? Monopoly. Great game, but it's also a strong term. Visa and MasterCard have monopolized this industry for quite some time now. I mean, there used to be more credit cards around. I think it was the Diners Club was another one. And whatever happened to the Diners Club? There were many other cards that came and gone. But let me tell you something. Somebody's going to come across. There's going to be some sort of banking system, maybe a crypto type, credit card type. Maybe they'll come across and say, hey, here we go. Then Visa and MasterCard will be saying, oh, God, we're screwed right now. See, when you don't have that much competition, you dictate the business. Visa and MasterCard have been dictating the business for a long, long time now. So comment. Let me know your thoughts about this. Tell me your thoughts about both of these stories, the United Nations, the credit card companies, to that situation. Also, let me know about the junior high school, the DxD. Let me know what your feelings on that as well. Now, as a programming note, next week, it's Thanksgiving. Obviously, we will be spending time with our family and friends to the situation, spending Thanksgiving with them. So, we will be presenting a special Wednesday edition of a taco Thursday, which will be called the Taco Wednesday, which will be in at 6 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday on here, YouTube and Rumble. But we will return back to Thursday on the following week. That'll be the first week of December. So we'll return to our regular time, Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern. But next week, note, we will be on Wednesday, 6 p.m. So go out, go with your family, visit a friend or two, or invite them over. As I said in the beginning, there are those in the mainstream media that are touting people. And this is what I tell you. This is the cult, like everybody else says. They tell you, no, don't hang with them. They have opposing opinions to you. Don't go visit them. Cut them out. That's what cults do. Don't listen to them. Go, invite or visit. Either way. Be with your family. Be with those you love, your friends, the loved ones. Be with them. That's what Thanksgiving is being with each one and thanking for our lives, of our family and everything that has come forward in our lives. That's what's very important. This is the holiday season. It's a joyous part of the year that it's supposed to be. But many people have been depressed to that situation because they have no one to go to. If you know someone that, is going to be alone this holiday, invite them over. Tell them, hey, come on over. Nah, don't worry about bringing anything on that. We'll feed you, give you a nice glass of wine, have a good dinner, have a great dessert with coffee or tea or whatever you want to have for dessert and stuff like that. And let's just sit back and relax. Maybe watch a football game, or maybe watch a Godzilla marathon on there, or an anime marathon. You might do anime or some sort of holiday special. So don't forget to hit that like, share this video, comment, and hey, that little button on there that says subscribe. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Very important. It moves us up in the algorithm, and we really do appreciate it because of the thousands and thousands of videos that you could have chosen. You have chosen us. And we really do appreciate, especially those who have come back to us these couple of weeks that this particular program has come through, as we will be expanding it in the near future. See how it goes and some changes made. But once again, have yourself a happy and safe Thanksgiving. We will see you next Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern, here on YouTube and Rumble. The following week, we'll return back to Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern. So until next time, thank you for tuning in, and so long. Take in some anime and manga this week. Enjoy it, and bye-bye now.
Thanks for watching, commenting, and sharing this video. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe, as this helps the reach of this channel. Finally, as a content viewer, you have the ability to help support this channel, as new internet laws around the world will diminish our reach and affect our sponsors. If you choose to help, there are two ways, listed in the description below. The first link will lead you to a pay site where you can make a monetary donation. The second will lead you to our gear shop, where you can buy shirts, mugs, and other gear. Discounts will be listed on the site. Once again, thank you for watching and your support.
Decisions make me anxious. I put hours in they think. Fuck all what you think.